Do you want to cast 3 6th level spells in just one turn? Decay your enemies while commanding an undead horde? Then this build's for you. Grab a coffee and settle in as we show off the god of death and decay himself, the Grim Reaper. For this one, choosing race is actually pretty simple. You can choose really whatever you want. All of the races have their own benefits and bonuses. The only thing that I think would be kind of cool for this build is going as the Dark Urge. I think the Dark Urge being this character that wants a path to be paved with blood. He almost fits this Grim Reaper-like persona, and I think he's a very good choice for doing a build that's going to be siphoning off the life of enemies to use to power and kill other enemies, which I think is really cool. Alright guys, so let's dive into this build. For this build, I wanted to go ahead and start with Wizard. I was debating between Wizard or Druid, but they have the same proficiencies and saving throws, so we're going to go ahead and start with a level in Wizard. For your cantrips, the only one that I thought was really important was Bone Chill. You can grab really whatever you want for these other two cantrips. I grabbed something else for range, and then something in case I end up in melee. For your spells, just, again, choose what you want. I really like Longstrider for the group. Also, Mage Armor early on is really nice. Alright, for your abilities, we don't need any strength or dexterity because we're going to be using dexterity gloves. If you are going to level with this ability or with this build, I recommend putting your 12 from your charisma. So just lower this up, put it into dexterity here, and you could even drop a couple points into wisdom and put that even higher. Or from intelligence, then you can respec later on because you're going to use intelligence casting basically later in the game. Whereas you're leveling, basically your 1 through 7 is going to be a lot of druid spells, so a lot of wisdom based casting. That being said, this is my final build. You want to put your stats about like this, and then I'll show you how everything else kind of ties together. Okay, going into the level up process, we're not going to continue on with Wizard. We're going to immediately switch classes to Druid. So again, pick your favorite cantrips, and for spells, prepare whatever you like. You'll kind of get a feel for them the more you play the class. And when I'm selecting a lot of these, I'm just going to hit continue on to save us some time, and we can go over some of the spells at the end of it. Level 2 Druid, we'll get our subclass. So we want to go Circle of the Spores here. Now, Circle of the Spores, we do get Wild Shape, but we're pretty much never going to use it. The only time you use Wild Shape is for maybe an RP instance to sneak around something. The reason being, we're going to be using Symbiotic Entity for our Wild Shapes all the time. What this does is currently it's going to give us 8 temporary hit points, and it'll go up by 4 every level we have in Druid. We also get Bone Chill. We already know it, but we have access to both versions. And then you also have Halo of Spores, which does damage to someone, just a little bit of necrotic damage. And it's a 20-foot range. It uses your reaction only. So if you use this, you won't be able to use like Counterspell or anything like that. Again, like I said, we'll continue on with spells later. Going into level 4, we're going to grab Druid again. We get some more health, some more spells. Again, choose what you want. We're going to continue through until we get to level 5 or 4 Druid. And this is where we're going to get our first feat. The way that I figured would probably be the best way to do this is go ahead and put 1 point into intelligence because we're going to push it to 18. And we're not going to probably invest another feat into an ASI here. So what I wanted to do was just go ahead and put 1 point into Constitution. That way later on we can go ahead and get Resilient Constitution and push that to 16. And then we'll be proficient in Constitution saving throws. It'll help maintain our concentration, give us a really big hit pool as well. Alright, so we're going into level 6, that's level 5 of Druid. Now we have access to our level 3 spells here. Continue through. Alright, level 7. Alright, this is where we get a nice little bonus. Fungal Infestation. We can pick up a humanoid corpse to fight for us, which is really cool. Also, if you ever really wanted to test out one of these wild shape forms, they're not super efficient, but if you're about to die, it's really nice to turn into an owlbear with a whole extra hit pool, and it'll help keep you alive for longer while your party kind of recovers from whatever you're going through. Alright, so as we hit our 8th level, we're kind of free to do a lot of different things. I thought about going back to Wizard originally, and then I started debating on how I wanted to continue this build. Now at this point in time, you can do some really cool stuff. So you could hop into Bard. If you chose Bard, you'd get some really cool defensive abilities. You'll get Song of Rest at level 2, and you'll get your, obviously we'll get a feat at level 4, and then you probably want to grab your second level of Wizard for your subclass there. If you went with Bard, you could also, if you really wanted to, you could do 5 levels in Bard and get access to some of the 3rd level spells that Bard has. You could also get Vicious Mockery. You could pick up Cutting Words from Lore Bard, which would be a really cool option. So you'd have a lot of defensive availability from the Bard if you took that. Cleric to me really stood out as a really good option. Again, you just want a full caster to kind of finish this build out. Cleric's really good, and the reason being is you have a lot of necrotic and poison damage, so you don't have a really good way to deal with undead. Now with the Cleric Channel Divinity and being able to push things away, or even better, the Light Channel Divinity, which allows you to do a lot of damage to those undead, it kind of gives you a way to fight through those things and kind of fills that little hole in the build. But I kind of thought this wasn't really good for the theme of the build. I was like, how do I really mix in a light cleric with necrotic druid, necrotic wizard, right? Doesn't really work for me. So I was like, nah, it's not for me. So I thought about throwing in sorcerer because you get access to your meta magic. A lot of the necromancy spells are single target. So now you're able to twin cast certain abilities, but you really don't have a huge supply of sorcerer spells. You'd want at least 3 levels so you could get quickened as well. So you could at least quicken a spell. But again, the more I kind of played with this, I was like, I don't know, that just doesn't feel right. So what I decided to do, instead of multi-classing anywhere, was to continue on through the wizard. Now, Abjuration's a great option because you can get your Arcane Ward, reduces the damage you take. Transmutation is fantastic because you get access to proficiency in Constitution saving throws. And if you do that, I recommend you change your stats accordingly to help you out with that. I also really like Divination for the guaranteed dice. But I chose Necromancy here. So Necromancy is going to give you Grim Harvest. Grim Harvest allows you to heal based on how high the spell is. So if you use a 6th level spell, you kill something, you heal for 12 HP. If it's a Necromancy spell, it'd be ×3 instead of ×2. So you're going to heal for 18 HP. It can only happen once per turn, so you can't just kill a bunch of guys, heal up to full. But it's a really cool way, and especially once we have 16 Constitution, I think it'll be a really cool way to help stay healthy. For your spells, just kind of pick what works out well for you. As we continue to level through the wizard, I'm a big fan of Darkness because Darkness allows you to cast the darkness in the back of the fight, and then your wizard can continuously come out of that darkness, cast its spell, and then go back in. And while it's in darkness, no one can affect you. It's really cool if you don't have another concentration that you're going to be concentrating on, then you can go ahead and use Darkness. Obviously stuff like Invisibility, Knock for a really hard lock. But this is where we get our second feat at level 10. We're going to get 4 levels in Wizard, which will give us access to another feat. So for here, I'm going to go ahead and choose Resilient Constitution. Now, if you were doing a Transmutation Wizard, you could use the Stone to get Constitution saving throw proficiency. So maybe you'd want to go, where's it at? Warcaster. So Warcaster gives you advantage on saving throws. And you could honestly stop here with Wizard and do your next 2 levels in Druid and then pick up another feat. Now, I did want to continue on through this. I thought it'd be more fun to marry that full 6/6 Necrotic Wizard with Necrotic Druid. The Druid has some of its summons, the Wizard brings some summons, so you can have your own little army while you're standing in the back casting these just awesome necrotic spells from a distance. Another reason why I wanted to get at least 5 levels in Wizard is so I had access to Counterspell. There are no scrolls for Counterspell, so because it's a reaction, the way the game system works, you cannot have a scroll on a reaction. So I wanted to pick up Counterspell. I thought that was very important for me. And I don't know, we'll pick up Haste here, just in case I wanted to give one of my buddies Haste, although we'll have access to a pseudo party-wide Haste. And I'll kind of explain that one in a minute as well. And our last level in Wizard here, we're going to pick up our advantages of our undead summons. Let me go ahead and show you that. So you get an extra undead or animate dead when you cast it. Like you get another undead creature, and then on top of that, they're a little better. So they add your wizard level to their HP, and they add your proficiency bonus to their attacks, which is kind of cool. Like I said, you're guaranteed to have animate dead at all times, and again, like just pick up 2 spells that you are comfortable with using. Here we'll grab Fireball to help deal with the enemy undead, and grant flight. Alright, so let's dive into the equipment that I'm wearing for this build. So first things off, let's start with the hood and we'll go from there. So I have the Hood of the Weave, and it's +2 to bonus spell save DC and attack rolls. And this will work for both your druid and your wizard stuff. It's one of the reasons why I didn't really invest that highly into intellect. I didn't max it out. I figured I wanted to stack up a bunch of bonus spell save DC. That way it helps out both classes instead of just one. Going into my cloak, I have the Cloak of Protection on. You can wear pretty much whatever you want. I think the Poisoner's Cloak, I'll pop that up, is a really cool option. Just allows you to heal every time you poison something, and with us really relying on Cloud Kill for a lot of our damage, or at least our tick down damage, I think it's a really cool way to keep the build healthy, especially with all our HP and our ability to pull in extra HP. Going into the armor, this is probably one of the most important pieces in the equipment. The Armor of the Sporekeeper allows you to give your party the AoE haste from the haste spores. Also the Blibberbang and Tamask spores, or Timisk spores, allow you to do a little more poison damage. You can also throw that down and then black hole enemies into those, which is a pretty cool little ability. Going on to our gloves, I have on the Gloves of Dexterity. Like I said, the reason I'm doing that is it gives you that plus 18 dexterity, and that brings our armor class up to 20. 20 armor class is pretty reasonable. It's nothing insane, but it's solid. This build isn't very defensive, and so you'll get targeted quite a bit. So having the extra armor class will really help you stay alive. For boots, pretty much wear whatever you want. I have the Helldust boots, but honestly, any boots you want to wear are going to be fine. Okay, moving into jewelry, I have on Khaled's Gift. This is what gives me a wisdom of 16. That'll add +1 to druid-based spells. Also increases saving throws and such, but that's why I kept my wisdom odd. Now there's some other options that are very, very good. They're probably better than wearing this, but I wanted to leave them open for other party members. So there's the Amulet of the Devout. This gives you a +2 bonus to spell save DC. So if we look at what we currently have, we're a 20 and a 19, but if we went ahead and put this on, we would go to a 22 for our necromancy, or for our intelligence-based spells, and back all the way up to 20 for our druid spells. So that's definitely better. Even though you don't get the extra channel divinity, it really doesn't matter very much. I also have the Spellcrux Amulet to help us get a 6th level spell slot, although we should be able to recycle our 6th level spell slots over and over again, depending on what type of enemies we're fighting, aka are they alive or not. Another great option for the neck piece is the Amulet of Greater Health. Like I said, we are going to be higher priority for the enemies to hit us. So putting our Constitution all the way up to 23 and getting advantage on saving throw checks is really nice, or Constitution saving throw checks, excuse me. So having advantage will just ensure that we don't lose concentration on our spells pretty much at all. For our rings, I just have on the Ring of Regeneration right now. It's going to help me stay a little more healthy. Like I said, we continuously take damage, so being able to heal all the time is very nice in combat. It is not extremely important. You can also wear like a Ring of Protection. One of the rings that I really want to try out with this build, but I haven't had the option to, I missed it in Act 2. It's called I believe it's the Poisoner's Ring. I'm going to go ahead and pop it up here. Basically what happens is you use an action and you can choose 3 enemies and they become weak to poison damage. So if we have Cloud Kill and we have a couple of enemies that we want to die, we can use our action to do that, because we're pretty much getting 2 actions every single turn. So use 1 action to do that, 1 action to move your Cloud Kill. And then if you killed something, you get a 3rd action from your elixir that we'll go over in a second to cast one of your necromancy spells, and it's going to be for free because you've already killed someone this turn. So you kind of get this like loop of continuously being able to do quite a bit of actions and reuse your 6th level spell slot over and over and over again, which is really fun. Hopping down into weapons, this is probably the 2nd most important item in the gear. I mean, it's very debatable. You could swap this in the chest out, but they both come from the same person. It is a mummy in Act 3, which you can find and talk to, and you can even trade with. You cannot take this off of him. You will have to kill him in order to get this. But it is the Staff of Cherish Necromancy. So it's going to give people disadvantage on all your necromancy spells. So that's going to be all of our main damage spells with the exception of Cloud Kill. So Circle of Death, Blight, Ray of Sickness, they all have disadvantage. You see it's popping up on my spells. Now on top of that, you do get Life Essence Harvest. So when you kill something, you suck in their life essence until your next long rest, and you can use that to cast a necromancy spell at any spell slot that you have available. We have 6 level spell slots, so we can cast at 6 level spells. It is insane. For our bow, you pretty much can wear whatever you want. I just have the Deadshot on because I was wearing it for another build previously. Feel free to put whatever you want on. I like the Darkfire or Drakefire short bow because you then get resistance to fire and cold damage. I think that's a really nice bonus. You also have access to haste, but you're pretty much never going to use it because you'll be using your haste spores. Okay, going over spells real quick and which ones we really like. I went ahead, and you can tell I have quite a bit of spells here. I just went ahead and learned everything that I had access to. We're always going to have Animate Dead prepared, so you'll be able to res different characters, and you'll note that you can use the ability off of your staff, I believe it's called Life Essence Harvest, in order to cast higher level spells for your Animate Dead. So you can use those spells to bring more dead or more undead back. So you can basically get a free 6th level spell version of that. Also, I do recommend you get the Necromancy of Thay book and summon those guys as well. And then on top of that, the Druid is going to be able to do some of its own summons. If you feel like it, you can also do, if you went higher levels of Druid, you could you could do the Conjure Woodland Being. If you pull out the spells in Wizard, you can also conjure Elemental and conjure lesser Elemental, which I actually don't have a copy of it right now, to pull out other, like, more adds to the fight. So it just depends on how many dudes you want running around, how many guys you want to control. You can control a whole horde if you'd like to, or you can just control a few guys. For the other spells that I really want you to look for, learn, you really want Circle of Death, Dethrone, Blight, Vampiric Touch, and Ray of Sickness. This basically, and Cloud Kill. These right here are going to be all your damage. Ray of Sickness, Vampiric Touch, Blight, Dethrone, and Cloud Kill, and Circle of Death. So when do you use each one of them? So like say you've got one of your abilities on, like one of the guys, so you're casting free 6th level spells. So it doesn't matter. This Cloud Kill is not a necromancy spell. The rest of them are. So Cloud Kill is normally how you open up a fight. You use a 5th level spell slot. You're going to use that Cloud Kill as you go through the fight. There's also a minor glitch with Cloud Kill. You can lose concentration and still be able to move your cloud, which is kind of cool. So when you're, like say you're fighting a bunch of people, you either don't have Cloud Kill out, or for whatever reason, you're just casting spells at things. If you have 2 or more targets, you probably want to use Circle of Death, and you have whichever spell you need, right? Like say you have free cast ability. You want to cast Circle of Death because, again, we're not paying the 6th level spell, so we're just going to keep hitting people with Circle of Death over and over again. As long as we're killing stuff, we'll be able to cast it for free. If it's a single target and you have a free cast, what you want to do is upcast Blight to 6th level. It's super powerful at that point in time. If you think you're going to be in a combat where you're in melee for quite a bit of time, you can also upcast Vampiric Touch. It will do consistent damage. Also, you regain half as many hit points when you're hitting things. So you can just keep attacking in melee combat, keep healing up as to kind of tank through stuff. When you use Ray of Sickness, you upcast this at max level when you want to hit someone that's doing a lot of attacking, like a barbarian, or I mean, maybe barbarian's not the best example, but some sort of fighter that's hitting you a lot. If they become poison, they now have disadvantage on all their attacks, which is a very good, very powerful ability against your enemies. And I believe Cloud Kill can also poison. So when do you use Dethrone? Dethrone's a very unique spell. You can only do it once per long rest, and you're going to want to cast it when you don't have a free cast. So Dethrone at level 5 does as much as a level 6 Blight. So you use Dethrone when you don't have an upcast or when you don't have access to a 6th level spell. and you want to still be able to do damage, because this does exactly, like, it's almost exactly the same average as a level 6 blight spell. Other spells that I recommend you check out, something like Globe of Invulnerability is really cool if you can get a spell to cast it, or if you can get a scroll to learn it. Like I said, if you want to have a bunch of allies helping you, you can get Conjure Elemental, Conjure Lesser Elemental. We really don't need haste because we're going to be able to have the haste spores at all times. I recommend Counterspell to help like slow down enemy casters. Misty Step to be able to get around the battlefield a lot better, and also Misty Step allows you to pull out and bait out counterspells. Longstrider is a good spell if you don't have anyone else in the party with it. So we don't have we don't have a ton of spells that we can have learned, but having Longstrider here does allow you to basically increase everybody's movement in your party, which is a kind of cool little thing. You will have haste, so Longstrider is even better. So instead of adding 10 feet, it's really going to add like 20 feet. We're going to pretend like someone else in our group has it. Shield is extremely important. I really love Shield. And so this is basically going to be your normal loadout. The next spell to me is either going to be Fireball or Wall of Fire. I want a way that I can deal with a bunch of undead. Now, Circle of Death actually works pretty solidly against undead because not all undead are immune to necrotic. So you can still use Circle of Death on them. They normally take like half damage or something along those lines, but they're definitely immune to poison. So don't ever cast poison on undead. But for me, we're going to go ahead and select Wall of Fire, and that's pretty much going to be my loadout. Now for Druid spells, let's go ahead and deselect all these out. Oh, look, we can actually, and I forgot we could do this, we can just select the Longstrider from that list of spells. I also really like Healing Word. That way we can pick up an ally. Protection from poison is fantastic. So you can cast this on all of your allies, especially whoever's going to be in the main fight. That way they have resistance to your poison damage. They can just sit in your cloud kill the entire time while it's damaging them and other enemies, which is really cool. If you have a really strong character, they can run up into the cloud kill. You know, you don't have to worry about them taking as much damage. And then once their turn is active again, they can move out of the cloud kill and throw others back into it, increasing the damage you do. Plant Growth is another really good one. It slows down everybody's movement to a quarter. So 25% of your movement. And this spell does not cost concentration. You can also take Feign Death. There's some cheeky things you can do with that. I like Lesser Restoration. Pass Without a Trace is not a bad out of combat thing. Enhance Ability is really good to help you out with the out of combat situations. And then some more role-playing things like Speak with Animals, Enhance Sleep. We'll use Thunder Wave so we can push people away. And that's pretty much what I'd probably bring to the table here. And you notice we have Anime Dead in here as well. Okay, as far as Illithid Powers go, I actually don't normally show this because it's not as important. And if you don't want to see all the Illithid Powers, go ahead and fast forward through. All right, that should be enough time for them to fast forward. So there's a few things that I really like. You could go with like Favorable Beginnings or being able to do the auto crypt. They're not super important for you. The one thing that I really like here is Black Hole. Black Hole and Fly. So Fly allows you to get around the battlefield a lot better. And then being able to Black Hole people together and into your cloud kill lets you use an action to basically put an enemy back where they were and cause them to use all their actions to get back out of your cloud kill again. So you can get this kind of cool loop where you're just sucking people into the cloud kill over and over again because you get to use it 5 turns in a row. Also, because we have such a nice spell save DC, it pretty much works on just about everyone. And it's a safe bet to pull people out of your allies because Black Hole does not hit allies, it only hits enemies. So if you have just this mosh pit of people, you can use Black Hole, suck the enemies out, and now you've got a safe spot to put Cloud Kill on the outside of that fight. Okay, so I went ahead and started this fight by opening up with Cloud Kill. I commonly come over here to kind of check stuff out. Now, I really wanted to show you how this build works. So what we can do now is we can cast Haste Spell, or Haste Spores, here, and we'll hit all three of us. Again, be careful with Haste Spores because enemies and allies can run through it and both get the bonuses to it. Alright, what we're going to do is I'm going to hop onto Jaheira because I'm pretty positive that this girl over here is going to try to counterspell whatever I do. So what we're going to do is we'll just use this. Interesting. Okay, that being said, I'm going to walk her closer.
Not pinned down just yet.
And do another spell onto these guys. There it is. I must have not been within range. So a lot of times, if you're going to be using high-level spells like this, you really want to try to fish out those counter spells. I like to do it with casters that are just not important. I could have done it with a healing word. The AI will choose to counterspell the first thing that has the option to counterspell when a spell is cast. So anything within range, right? I was just slightly out of range there.
Important is ever easy.
Okay, so that brings us back to my turn. All I've done, like I said, was cast Haste Spore, so now I have 2 actions here. So these guys are still full health because it looks like they scattered and healed up immediately. So what we're going to do, they can fly a bit. Actually, you know what would be fun? We're going to pull these guys, hopefully all of them, into this right here. So we have Cloud Kill out, and now we've sucked in 3 people into it. Also, because I've killed something now, I have consumed Life Essence on. So now these guys are a lot weaker, or a lot lower in health. Walk out a bit. I will have to show off Dethrone. No, I can show it off now. Great. So Dethrone is a special spell that you can only get from a scroll. If you want to know where to get it, you can just look it up, but it's in Sorcerer's Sundries somewhere. I don't really want to give it all away. There are 2 different versions of this, or not 2 different versions, but 2 different copies of this scroll. So you can just go find it there and then check out some cool abilities. So we're going to go ahead and show off Dethrone and show what it does. This guy here has got 68 health. Sure, he looks like a great target. Actually, I want to make sure it hits. So we're going to cast it onto this character here. Yeah, I mean, it looks pretty sick, right? Does quite a bit of damage, ends up doing 51 damage. It's 10d6 plus 20, and then it adds 1 as well from the other ability.
I won't give in.
This brings us back to my turn. And for whatever reason, I did not get my 3rd action because I have killed people. I don't know why, but normally I should have a 3rd action. Maybe it's triggering from something earlier. We're going to walk to the back of my Haste Spores and end my turn. Okay, so it is back to my turn. See, the Haste Spores are now off. What we can do to turn them back on is we just walk into it a bit. We just have the one guy down there now, but this doesn't seem to hit enemy or allies, so we're going to use our first action to move Black Hole. Actually, we're going to use our action to hit this guy with Circle of Death to show off how it does. So basically, it's going to hit everyone in a certain area. So we turn this on here. So consume life essence, and we're going to click on Circle of Death, which automatically goes off at a 6th level spell. But you'll see that it will not consume my spell slot. We did hit a child for 34 damage as he ran away. I believe it counted as killing the child. So now we have an additional action. So one of the things you can do now that you have your additional actions, you can move your cloud kill and then pull them back into it, or do it in reverse order. So I'm going to do it in reverse order here. I'm going to throw my black hole here. Did not grab this guy. So I won't be able to... looks like we can. So what we'll do is we'll move Jaheira this way. Move... disengage Lae'zel. Even if she really doesn't want to. All the way up here with Jaheira. And now we can recast Cloud Kill in this area. So they will take damage again at the start of their turn. We also have our Halo of Spores as well. I can use that. He's saved on it, which is kind of surprising, but hey, it happens sometimes. And then we'll backpedal. And we'll get back to their turn. I'm going to skip everyone else. So you see here, I'm going to go ahead and shield. But as this guy walked through, he got haste spores, so now he's going to get extra attacks. So 1, 2 should... Oh, I'm surprised I only gave him 2. Again, they start their turn in Cloud Kill, they take additional damage. So come back to our turn, we can again run through the haste spores. Now, if I pull people here and they fail their saving throw, they'll just automatically go back into the Cloud Kill. And you'll see as it instantly exits combat because it kills both of them. If you enjoyed that video, do me a big favor and press that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. It makes a huge difference and I really appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay safe and roll more 20s.
How would you feel about helping me kill some evil bastards?
Black and blessed.